Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving swiftly on. Next up, we have the second of our 30-minute insight sessions. We had the first one this morning with Dean Ornish. Now we have number 2. Our next speaker is a globally recognized futurist and expert on the topic of driving change. And as we've already heard, change is a constant. We have to change to survive. Her mission is to provoke fresh thinking around what's possible and to help people better solve problems with intentionally simple, easy-to-use tools. She's an award-winning author and a respected thought leader as well, who runs an innovation training firm that helps businesses embrace change and become world-class innovators. You'll probably recognize her because she's appeared on NPR and Fox News and in such publications as Fast Company, The New York Times and Wired magazine. And she's a frequent contributor to Forbes and the Harvard Business Review. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the CEO of Future Think, Lisa Bodell. Welcome.
It's great introduction. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, how is everybody? Good? See, I have that unfortunate time slot that's just enough after lunch that you're starting to go right into that food coma, right? So I thought I would shake everybody up and do something a little different. And I've prepared 400 PowerPoint slides for you to get you going. Does that sound good? Somebody clap, they have to leave, unfortunately. Now, I have a very simple goal today. I want to help you create more space for change and innovation in your organization, and I want to do it in really simple ways. And I think one of the things that holds you back from change is going to surprise you. It's not what you think. Now, I know that change and innovation are topics that everybody here is probably well aware of, has embraced, or is sick of at this point. But I'll tell you, it's interesting to me. We talk a lot about it. But the thing I think about is, then why is it so hard for us to make it stick? And I think if we're really being honest with everybody here in the room and many of the companies that I see, it's very hard to make change and innovation happen. And I want to know why that was happening. And the answer to that, I found when I started to ask a very simple question of the groups that I would speak in front of. Now, I'll speak to about 100,000 people a year. I have teams, I have 17 people all over the world, and they teach people, like you, how to anticipate and activate change. And increasingly, as we were starting to go out and do our sessions with people, we were getting pushback from people around change. We know that change is a real challenge for everybody. I wanted to know why. So when I started speaking to groups, I would ask them a very simple question. What do you spend your day doing? Right? The day-to-day. What do you spend your day doing? And the answer to that question, what surprised me was not the unique answers that I got. What surprised me was the consistency of the answer that I got. Everybody answered that question exactly the same way, no matter the country, the culture, the company, the level within the organization, or the role they were in. What do you spend your day doing? And they always answered meetings and emails. Sound familiar? Right? I'm there to talk about innovation and change. What do they spend their day doing? Meetings and emails. And by the way, the next answers after that weren't much better. Reports, conference calls. Eventually we'd get to strategic planning and customers, but that was really far down the line. And what that made me think about is this. I think that we get up in the morning to do very meaningful work. Right? I don't have a single friend that wakes up in the morning and is like, I am so excited to get to my desk and start banging through email today. Right? Or they don't look at their diary and go, look at me, meetings all day. Who's luckier than me? That's not how it works. Right? People get up in the morning and they want to do not the mundane but the meaningful. Right? They want to make a change. They want to solve problems. They want to do things that make a difference. And what it made me realize is how we approach change is all wrong in our companies. Right? The very things that we put in place to help us better innovate and change are often the very things that put a chokehold on it. Right? Meetings, reports, policies, procedures, all important. But they start to become the only thing you do, and you start to become slave to the complexity that you've created. And I think when we approach change, we have to change our approach. I think one of the first things that we have to do is that we have to start doing something around, well, getting rid of, right? Eliminating the things that are holding us back to make the space for change that's really important. And I'm going to show you how to do that and get to more meaningful work. Now, in order to do that, I think first, one of our jobs here as leaders is to know what the future is going to bring, right? embracing change. And then we have to create that environment that's simplified to help people really make it stick. So you as leaders here, I want to know something by show of hands. How many people here think that they are good with change? Just raise your hands. Okay, about half the room. I want to play a game with you around change. And this is a futurist game. So my background is that I'm also a futurist. That is a real job title, by the way. You can get your master's in science and foresight or a certificate program. But the idea around being a futurist is you help people understand possible, probable, and preferable scenarios for change. And remember, it can be possible, but it might not be preferable. Right? How do you help people keep their antenna up so they know the change that's happening, so they can start giving direction to people and make it stick? Well, what we typically do as futurists is we teach people a game called In the News. And we're going to play it right now. Now, In the News is where I actually present headlines to you that may or may not have appeared in the news. Headlines of the future. And you have to decide when I present it to you if it's true or false. Now, here's how it's going to work. I'm going to read the headline. And if you think it's true, you are going to stand up and give me jazz hands like this. If you think that the headline is false, you are going to stay seated, you're going to cross your arms, and you're going to go extremely angry. Okay? Are you guys ready to do this? Are you ready to do it? Okay, let's do it. Listen, push your chairs back a little bit from your table. I'm going to start. I'm going to read the first headline. Let me explain it, and then I'll tell you whether it's time to stand up or not, okay? All right, here we go to the slides. If I can get my slide up here. Okay, here we go. Jawbone and Redbox are developing retail experiences that are driven by your behavior. Here's how it works. In a pilot just outside here in San Francisco, there are 5 kiosks, and there are 100 people that have been given special fitness trackers. These trackers not just predict their activity, but they also track their feelings and their moods. When they walk up to a Redbox kiosk, they put their tracker up to it, and it recommends movies based on how they're feeling at the moment. If you think it's true, stand up and give me the jazz hands. Wow. Okay, people stay standing. You look ridiculous, and it's fun for me. No, stay standing, because angry people, look at these people, because these are our innovators right here and our risk takers, and these people are wrong. So sit down. These people are wrong. When we can get the slide back up here, that would be great. Hold on one second. We get the slide. There we go. It's wrong. Why do you care about this? Right? Why did you say that it was true? Right? It's possible. It's probable. There are things that are happening like that right now. In fact, what's really interesting is when you think about wearables, you're probably not thinking of them in the way that you need to within your company. Right? Technology we always think of in terms of B2C, maybe B2B, but actually what you need to think about is B2E, and I'll tell you why. Right? In the future with wearables, we're going to be able to have people actually videotape or actually capture how they're doing safety checks. It'll be for insurance adjusters to go out and find their claims and actually record it right there to be able to process it more quickly. Even more importantly, if you work in a chemical company or if you work in pharmaceuticals, you'll be able to record in real time, right, your process lab steps, share it with your team around the world to get to R&D faster, to get learning faster, and to be more efficient and effective. But the real thing that people don't realize is that the message you're sending out to your team is you're going to be more efficient and effective. And what they're thinking is, wow, now that I have a tracker on me in wearables, if I don't do this right, I could get fired. How are you going to actually do the good part of the technology, not the bad? So here's what I want you to think about. Wearables and devices, as they start to permeate your organization, how are you going to prepare your culture for this age, right? So people know that they're going to be more transparent and accountable, but still welcome in the organization. All right, let's do another headline here from the future. Here's the next one. BMW has partnered with USC, University of Southern California, and they are creating cars with over 300 sensors. The purpose of this car is it is specifically designed to make the drivers healthier. If you think it's true, stand up and give me jazz hands. Stand up. Oh, not so cocky this time, are you, huh? All right, you think it's true. Cars that will make you healthier. Oh, let's see. Absolutely true. Well done. Well done. This is really important. The reason, actually, let me show you the car quickly. This is Nigel, right? It's a Mini. It has over 300 sensors. It is going to make you healthier. And I'll just tell you about some of the basic diagnostics. Some of you may have heard of this car. So the first thing that happens when you get into this car is it will tell you how much weight you have lost or gained since the last time that you drove the car, right? I hate this car. It's a terrible car. The other thing it'll do, you put your hands on the steering wheels. It gives you basic diagnostics like how much has your heart rate gone up or down? Is it different when you pull into your driveway at home versus your parking space at work? It'll also read through the venting system, the amount of pollutants that are coming in, and if it's becoming too polluted, the GPS will reroute you to a healthier route. And it goes on and it goes on. And what I find really interesting about this is healthier cars. People always laugh. But in the future, cars will probably not be cars, right? If you're an automobile company, you supply to automobiles, you know in the future you might be about mobility systems, logistics. In fact, car companies in the future, who knows, they might not make cars, right? And it was interesting because I do a lot of work with pharmaceutical companies. And it wasn't too long ago, I was in Basel, and we were talking about, it's always about the pill or beyond the pill. And a lot of pharmaceutical companies want to get more adherence, right, when you take your medicine. Make sure you take your medicine more frequently. And we were talking about, well, where do people spend their time? Commuting. Where are they usually commuting? A lot of time in their cars. Wouldn't it be interesting if we could get our medicines into the cars and people could take it that way? That'll never, until it does. And then here your BMW 10 years from now is brought to you by Pfizer, right? Imagine that happening. Here's the key takeaway, right? I want you to think about this. For new business models, what could you be doing in 10 years that you are not doing today? What could you be doing in 10 years? There's nothing to look like what you're doing today. Here's why I'm telling you this as a futurist. The future is not about who you are. You know who you are. You better, or you should be fired. The future is about who you're becoming. Right? That's what matters. The people who know who you're becoming, the ones who are spending on things 5 and 10 years down the road, don't just know strategically who you're becoming, but who you should be hiring. And those are the people that win. So who are you becoming is what matters. How do you figure out who you're becoming and what holds you back from doing it? All right, now that we talked about the future, let's figure out what holds us back about the day-to-day, making it stick so you can get there. Here are the things that hold you back. Complexity, and then the result of that, which is complacency. Right? We are mired in things at work. We are overwhelmed. And that's not the big deal. The big deal is what happens to your staff as a result, right? Whew, I have so much on my plate, I resist change. I'll stick with what I know because I just can't take on something else. And I'll tell you, the reason for my book and how it came about, it's called Kill the Company, came from a very painful, embarrassing experience that I had when I went down to North Carolina. And this was about 4 years ago now. And we were asked to come down. It was a big multinational manufacturing company. You would know them if I told you their name. And it was their top 50 people in their largest division. And they said to us, Lisa, bring down your futurists. We're going to talk about the future of manufacturing 2030. All right, let's talk about change. I said, okay. We came down, and it was a full-day session. And I said to my team, I'll kick it off. I'll do about an hour of setup, and then you guys can dive into the deeper tools. Great. We sit down. I start talking. It's about half hour into it, and I realize nobody is listening to me. Nobody cares. I'm literally going down in flames. And I thought, my God, what am I going to do? Right? So I called an audible, and I said, let's take a break. And every bone in my body did not want to go back in that room. I wanted to stay in the fetal position in the bathroom as long as I could. I was embarrassed in front of my whole team. It was awful. And, I came out and I found one of the senior leaders. And I said, what is going on? Why is nobody paying attention to the future? And he said, what are you talking about? It's fine. It was like we were on 2 different planets. I said, I don't think anybody's buying it. And he said, no, Lisa, that's not it. It's not that we don't want to have change. It's frankly, we no longer believe we can affect it. Everybody is out of energy. And I thought, oh my God, then what's the purpose of me doing this here? So nothing I had prepared to do was going to make a difference. I had to totally change it. And I said, well, listen, let's do something different. So everyone put away their stuff, and I rearranged them into tables by function and by business unit. So you have rocketry here, golf carts here, legal, procurement, marketing. Everyone had to sit in their role or function. And I said, listen, I'm going to give you 5 minutes. And I want you to think about who your number one competitor is. Right? Who keeps you up at night? Who scares you? Who are you jealous of? Who do you wish you could be? Everyone at their tables, they talked about it, argued about it. Finally, each group decided on who their number one competitor was. And then I said, now you have 30 minutes, and now I want you to kill your company. And everyone suddenly was very attentive to me. And I said, what I want you to do is I want you to pretend you're your competitor, and I want you to put yourself out of business. And it was literally like a concert, like lighters were going off, people were so excited, right? Because we were giving them this opportunity to practice proactive obsolescence, right? To be able to have an out-of-company experience. Rather than what you usually do in strategic planning, which is usually political, this was forcing people to attack their weaknesses. And I'll tell you, 1 hour turned into 2 hours, turned into the entire day. And what was really interesting was what they came up with. Not just divesting things and getting rid of products, but how could they actually work better with teams? What could they get rid of? What could they turn back onto their competition? So I think it'd be interesting for you to think about, if you're going to change the future, how would you go about killing your company? Right? If you did it with your team, what would they say? Now, what are they going to do? What are they going to push back on you and say, here's why we can't kill our company? I'll tell you what it is, and I think it's 3 things. I think we value things that hold us back. Right? The first thing I think we do is we are managing, not leading. I think within our organizations, we are not grooming leaders, we are grooming professional skeptics. These are people that are really good at eliminating risk. They can tell me what's wrong with something far more likely than they can tell me what's right. Right? This is an issue. The second thing is, I think that we are addicted to process over culture. We're really good with systems. We like hard things. But who we are and who we're becoming is about HR, who we hire, soft things and behaviors, that cultural stuff. And the final thing is, I think we also have an issue with too much doing over thinking. I think within most companies, thinking is a daring act. When you think about it, you walk into someone's office, and there's Bob, right? He's looking out the window, and he's smiling. And you say, hey, Bob, what are you doing? And he goes, oh, I'm just thinking. What's the first thing that pops into your head? Get back to work, right? Get back to work. It's the opposite of thinking. And, you know, thinking is a daring act is something I was talking about a lot a few years ago because I thought it was so true. And I was at this offsite. I sit on the scientific board. And I was meeting one night. We were having cocktails before we kicked off this 3-day session. And I was talking to one of the neurologists because I really like the cognitive sciences. And I had this guy, we were having a glass of wine, and I said, you know, my position is I think thinking is a daring act. And he got really animated. He was so excited. And he said, I completely agree with you. And the reason why is because the brain is the most amazing organ that we have. It starts working, Lisa, from the very moment that we wake up in the morning, and it doesn't stop until the very second that we set foot into our offices. And I said, you know, Paul, I laughed, I said, exactly. Right? Thinking is a daring act. How do we change that? How do we change that? Well, I want to give you some very simple things. Right? I'm very practical. I think I could sit here and talk to you about theory and change all day long. Frankly, I don't think you need more theory. I think you need things to do that can create the behaviors you need to be able to mirror to your team and that your team can do right now. Right? The things that hold people back are very mundane, and it is your job to clear it so they can have that space for change and innovation. So let's get you thinking. We're going to do some math, because I know math is fun after lunch. How many people here are good at math? Oh, that's pretty good. All right, how many people can add 2 numbers together? Not everyone has raised their hand at this point, just so you know. All right, we are going to add numbers together out loud to get you right up here, right into the frontal lobes, into the neocortex, because that's where innovative thinking happens, and you'll be more open to change. So we're going to do this out loud. That's how part of the learning happens and makes it stick. So what we're going to do is when I yell 2, you'll yell 2. And if I yelled 2 again, you would add it up, and you would yell. You can do this. All right, I'll start with you, and then I'm going to fade to the background, okay? Because I've done this a few times before. All right, here we go. We're going to do this together out loud. The first number is 1,000. Let's say it together. 1,000. Let's add it up. 1,000 and? Next one. You got it. Keep going. Next one. Got it. Last one. Nope. You want to do it again? No? 5,000. 5,000. It's always special to me when I hear the occasional 6,000 as well. This is a great example of what makes you great as a leader can make you really bad as an innovator. Right? We are taught to find the answer quickly, to look for patterns, and so we all march together right off the cliff. Right? 5,000. What type of person typically gets this right? Just shout out to me. What type of person? Not accountants. No, not accountants. Not sales guys. No. Someone said it up here already. Children. Children usually up to the age 10 or 11. We teach pattern thinking very early in schools, of course, but we still allow for gray area up to them. That's usually before standardized testing happens. I'm a fan of standardized testing, by the way, but that's another conversation. But usually there's gray area, and then we move into black and white. True or false, multiple choice. And it gets worse as we get older. And so what happens is 5,000. How do you break that habit? There's very simple things we can start to do to create the space for change and better thinking. And they're things that are very easy to do that you normally used to do, but you don't have time to anymore. So I'm curious after I'm done, if you see me in the hallway, which one you're going to try first. Your job, when you leave here, it's true, 5 days, use it or lose it. Try one of these in the next week. So here's the first one. I think you need to get better at asking questions. Asking killer, provocative questions, right? Questions, to be honest, that shouldn't create conflict, they create contrast. Your job as a leader is to create productive agitation. Most of us are terrible at asking questions. Right, we get into a conference room or a brainstorm and everyone has big expectations, and within the first few minutes their brain is totally turned off, bored out of their mind. Now here's what's really important about asking questions. In the future, asking the right question is going to be more valuable than finding the right answer. We have machine learning, we have AI, we have algorithms, we have all kinds of data. Data is not the problem. When you think about it, Google is not a search engine. Google is an answer engine. And that's a very important distinction. Right? 10 years ago, if you typed into Google, when is George Washington's birthday? You got pages of links that would send you to sites that would tell you when George Washington's birthday was. Now, when you type it in, when is George Washington, you get the Wikipedia dissertation on George Washington. You get lots of links that tell you the birthday right there, and then they send you to the sites that they think you're going to try to go to next because they're predicting what you're thinking. The data's there. Are you asking the right question? Let me give you some examples of questions you should think about asking. So next time you get into a room, don't say things like, who's got an idea? How could we solve X, Y, Z? I'm already asleep. What if you said something like this? If we had to give away our current products and services for free right now, how would we make money? Professional tip, being extreme is very important. Right now. Second one, what question would you love to ask our customers or even our employees, but you are too scared or embarrassed to ask it? And the final one, you've just written a tell-all book about your organization. What secrets would you reveal? These questions, they really light people up. They get better answers. If you want better answers, ask better questions. So I want you to think about this. This is for you on your time at cocktails, before you go to bed at night. What killer question would you love to ask? Why haven't you asked it? All right, here's my second one, and I think this is going to be one of your favorites. Very easy to do, but I have to tell it to you through a quick parable. And this was told to me by a nuclear physicist we were working with in Germany, and he was trying to describe his culture. And he said, here's a story. There was a scientist, and he had 10 monkeys in a cage. And he decided to perform an experiment. Each day, he put a banana on top of the cage, and he let one of the monkeys get it. He sits on top of the cage, and of course, all the other monkeys, the 9 monkeys in the cage, he pours water on top of them. And all those monkeys are mad. Next day, same thing. He puts a banana on top of the cage. One of the monkeys gets it. He pours water on all the other monkeys. They're mad. By the end of the week, any monkey that tries to go for that banana, all the monkeys pull him down. Don't go for the banana. Well, he says, you know what? These monkeys got smart. I'm going to shake this up. Each week, I'm going to take one of those old monkeys out, and I'm going to put a new monkey in. Next week, takes one of the old ones out, puts the new monkey in. What does that new monkey do? Goes for the banana. All the monkeys pull him back down. By the end of the week, that monkey knows, oh my God, don't go for that banana. And at the end of 10 weeks, there are 10 new monkeys in the cage. None of them go for the banana, but none of them have any idea why. This is what happens at work to so many people, right? Well, why do we have that rule? Someone must have put it in there for a reason, right? That's just how we do business. One of the best things you can do is kill a stupid rule. This is one of the favorite ones. I can tell you 50 CEOs in Fortune 500 companies that have adopted this. And it is transformative. It's so easy to do, right? So here's how it works, right? If you could kill or change any 2 rules at work that could help you be more innovative or better change, what would they be? Give your team 30 minutes. Ask them to do it. And here's a trick. Only ask them to do it within the job or role or unit that they operate in. You don't want them complaining about mothership, right? And here's what you're going to find. They will come up with things that you didn't realize. And what they will come up with might not be rules. There'll be cultural norms, there'll be reports, there'll be annoyances, but there'll be things that you can get rid of right away. Right? Quick win hits. All right, and here's the last one. And this is, I think, the most important of all. How can we start to make simplicity not an event, but a habit? We are drowning in complexity. I think the thing that actually holds us back is not the cultural stuff, not any of that thing. I think it's the mundane work, right? I think we as leaders need to commit to a code of conduct, a new operating principle that has simplicity at its core, right? The next time you get a task, right, that's put in front of you as a leader, you have the obligation to yourself, your colleagues, the people that work for you to say, is this necessary? Is there a way that we can do this in a more minimal way but still reach our goal? Are we doing this with clarity so everybody can understand it and do it more quickly? And even more importantly, are we doing it in an efficient way that empowers people so they know that they are okay to get rid of stuff too? Right? And the reason why, this is interesting, you're going to start to hear about simplicity a lot. We work with a lot of companies right now that are putting simplicity teams in place. And a few of them have chief simplification officers. And what you need to know is this is not just an efficiency effort. This is a cultural effort. If you get the work right, you get the culture right. And you can get to the work that matters. There's a huge difference. If you get the work right, you get the culture right. So here's what I want to leave you with. I believe that change is a choice. You do not have to do it. And remember, the people that work for you don't either. So you've got to be able to do it in very simple ways. I think you can ask better questions that provoke the status quo and shake it up, right? I think that you can actually kill stupid rules right now that can create the space for things that don't matter anymore. Get rid of them. And I think that you can commit to making simplification the way that you operate. So you can make space for work that is truly meaningful, and then your people will stay. I hope if you use one of these that you'll write me and let me know how did it work. And I hope you make simplification a way that you start to create change. And with that, I'll say thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. That was so much fun. Thank you.